Hello and welcome to the grand final of the Highlander National Championships 2017. My name is Kanishka Karunaratne from Paragon Games, and I'm here with Andrew Vance from the Highlander Points Committee.
Good afternoon, all.
Yeah, and we have got in the finals returning Highlander champion Lachlan with his Elves deck, and Christopher Addie on Giant Lands.
Yeah, so Chris beat Andrew Reid in the semi-finals. Lachlan beat someone whose name has just escaped me. Tony. Yeah. We just watched that. Yep. And it should be a pretty interesting match. So if Chris wins, well, he'll be the first person who's won multiple national Highlander championships. Mm-hmm. He'll also be the only person who's won 2 in a row.
Lachlan.
Yeah. So he's definitely been doing very well, and he is yet to lose a match. I think he had a draw at some point earlier in the event, but he certainly hasn't had a loss.
Yep. So he's undefeated coming into this one.
Yep. Whereas Chris, I think
he may have dropped a match.
I think he dropped at least one match. Yep. Yeah. Probably only one.
Yeah, and you can see the prizes there at the bottom of the screen.
That's right. So there's a reasonably good condition Mock Sapphire for first, mm-hmm. and a Time Vault for second.
Yeah.
Both of which are pretty exciting cards and very good Highlander cards. We actually had half a dozen different decks playing Time Vaults in the event, I think.
Yeah, it was quite common. Yeah, there was a lot.
Yeah, so I think 8 or 9 actually, sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
Which for a 3-point card is pretty high. And, Mock Sapphire is a Mock Sapphire. And worth both quite a bit of money and a pretty good Magic card.
Yeah. So there's an alternate art, unfortunately, but that is what the card does.
Yep.
Lets you play spells early.
So in the match, we've got a Thrun, I think.
Yeah.
Thrun seems to be pretty bad for Chris. He can't easily interact with it. Can't counter it, although that doesn't matter to him. But yeah, he can't target it. It regenerates.
I think he's the one answer he might have is the Edict,
which is already in his bin.
Yeah.
Tarmogoyf can also potentially just brick it.
That's true. Yep.
If Tarmogoyf gets big enough, and it's I think Tarmogoyf is probably already a 4/5.
Yeah.
Or maybe a 3/4.
3 instant. At least 3. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so that could just be forced. Yeah, and if Lachlan ends up being just on permanent regeneration duty, that's really going to stunt his game plan.
Yeah, yep.
I guess at this stage they've got the life totals, where that hopefully doesn't matter too much to any player.
No.
Yeah.
No. So, I mean, I think in general, I would have this matchup slightly, but not massively favours Chris.
Okay.
Lachlan can, as we saw in his matchup against Tony, can get some ridiculously fast starts.
Mm-hmm.
But, Chris's plan is to just, as we've seen in the previous match, just to kind of grind him out and kill as many creatures as he can as often as he can.
Mm-hmm. Just 1 for 1. Again and again and again.
Yep. And he's also got the LD plan, as we can see. So
yeah. Well,
Abrupt Decay killing that Mox, which makes Tarmogoyf big enough to
gets out
force that regeneration plan we were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Which is not the plan Lachlan wants to be on.
It's not ideal for him. And we've got Sensei's Top, which will go about its usual business of card selection and infuriating Fry.
And I think it was an Arbor Elf from Lachlan.
Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
So I think one of the early turns here was Chris lightning bolting. Another mana dog.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's just... I mean, this isn't nearly the explosive start we've seen from Lachlan.
No, that's right. So, and again, we see Chris fetching back that lightning bolt and...
with Eternal Witness. Yep.
With Eternal Witness. And just generally trying to keep Chris from having too much mana. So these two guys would have played this match more than a couple of times. So they're both Canberra locals.
Right.
They both would have played in the monthly events at the Games Capital.
Mm-hmm.
And possibly in some of the Highlander leagues. So they're both probably pretty familiar with how it works and what's going on.
Yep.
As you can see, they're both playing it pretty quickly.
Yep. And Chris just knowing exactly what he needs to be killing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And punishing fire there, potentially quite powerful if Chris can get the other half of the combo in Grove of the Burnwillows, because it'll just let him slowly but surely kill all of Chris's little guys.
Yeah, wow.
Lachlan's little guys.
Yep.
I might just be calling everyone Chris, I can't tell. So, now we've got Quirion Ranger on Lachlan's side of the board, which lets him essentially give Thrun vigilance.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the Scrib Ranger we've seen in some of his previous matchups. It's the original version.
Okay.
So it lets you bounce a forest back to your hand to untap a creature.
Mm-hmm.
And Bayou is a forest, conveniently.
Right.
The joy of the original jewels and the Ravnica jewels.
Mm-hmm. And which means he does get some attacks here if he wants to.
Yeah, he can get some. He can get some attacks in as he did just then.
Yeah. Which means he can maybe sort of race.
Well, Chris can just deny it by keeping the Tarmogoyf on defense if he wants. And okay, he's
Drew something.
Drawn an extra card. He's decided that Sensei's Divining Top is not doing what he wants right now, and he would rather have a random card.
Either that, or he knew it was on top because he's been.
Yeah. So he needed the extra land so that he could cast Titania.
Yep. Which is a card we've seen a few times.
And now Lachlan gets to face some of his own medicine from the previous match.
Well, what comes around goes around.
Yep.
What goes around comes around. Yep.
So it means he can get that fetch land back, get an extra land, get a 5/3.
Yep.
All in all, that seems a lot better than a Sensei's Divining Top.
Yeah, I'd make that trade. I like how both of these players have bought their token. Although that's not a Titania token.
No, I don't know what it is.
We'll forgive it. I think it's an Elves one or something. Anyway. We know it's a 5/3.
We know it's a 5/3.
Okay, and now, Chris's board looking pretty good.
Yeah. So now Chris has got multiple 5/3s, which will die to Thrun, but
in the meantime, they'll just be getting in for 5.
Yeah, absolutely. And it means pretty soon Chris is going to be in the position where he can just attack for lethal and not care that Thrun's blocking something. I'm not sure. I don't think we'll see this happen, but he's also got the option of just pinging away with the Dryad Arbor because Lachlan can't really afford to turn it into a 5/3.
Right. Okay, there's the Talus Tracker again.
Yeah, old mate Talus Tracker.
And so he's got the board advantage, and now he's got the card advantage as well.
Yeah, so I feel like this game's going to end reasonably quickly unless Lachlan can draw something amazing. And he does have, if he hits a natural order, he can turn his Quirion Ranger into a pile of bees, which will deal with Chris's board pretty nicely.
Hornet Queen, I assume.
Yeah, Hornet Queen. And Chris has decided he does not want that to happen.
So he's going to kill it.
So
seems fair.
He's dread boring.
Because
Chris's plan here is just for Lachlan not to have any non-land permanents, preferably not any lands either. But he just wants to kill everything all the time.
Yeah. And I guess that's just Chris showing his knowledge of the format here.
Yeah. And so as we suggested might happen, I think Chris is going to start attacking with multiple of his guys, and possibly the Eternal Witness as well, because
that's probably not the block here.
Yeah, Lachlan can't afford to block it really.
And
there goes that Dryad Arbor plan.
Yeah, and just forcing Lachlan to just commit to regenerating every time.
And Chris briefly was pretending his 5/3 was a land, and then realised what he was doing.
Yeah, and I guess the thing is that Lachlan's creatures don't actually get that much bigger than what Chris has already got going on.
No. So Lachlan wants to draw. His own Titania might be pretty good. Green Sun Zenith. So I'm not sure what modes he's choosing. Possibly gain 7.
With Primal Command.
Primal Command, sorry.
Yeah.
Yep. So he's clearly searching for a creature, and I'm pretty sure it's Titania that he's looking at.
Yeah, I guess one way to fight Titania is to play your own.
Yep. He hasn't put a non-creature permanent on top of Chris's library, which is not very exciting right now. And shuffling Chris's graveyard is also not very exciting. So yeah, he's getting Titania and gaining 7.
Okay.
Which is a pretty big game. If he can survive, this turn.
Yep. Could be enough.
Yeah, look, it could be enough for him to stabilize.
And he's got the Gavany Township, so if he can stay alive for a couple more turns and keep a board presence,
yeah, then his creatures
board just ends
up bigger.
Yeah.
But Chris has hit another
another
fetch land. So he's generating clues and 5/3s.
Yeah, that's a pretty good combination of things.
Yeah.
There's that fatal push on top of at the bottom of his library. Not doing much here.
Not doing a whole bunch. I mean, it's perfectly serviceable in this matchup.
Yep.
It kills all manner of elves.
Yep. It's not going to kill the Thrun.
No. Thrun does not like dying. And Chris is tapping all his mana for something.
Oh.
For the Chainer's Edict, right.
Wow. Because that deals with Thrun.
Deals with Thrun and deals a pretty large amount of damage.
Yep.
So it's dealing 10, 15, 18, 19. Yeah, I think that might be, if not lethal, putting
pretty close to it.
Lachlan pretty low on life.
Well, it looks like he's not dead. Okay.
He gets an untap step.
Yeah. Down to 2.
Yeah,
wow.
down to I think 2. And he's just double checking and working out what he can do.
I wonder if he's counting power or number of creatures.
Can I block 9 creatures next turn? No, I cannot.
Wow. Okay.
So
well, that almost looked like Chris was playing Lachlan's deck there.
Yeah. They've got a lot of cards in common.
Yeah.
A lot of the creatures are common because green has a lot of very, very powerful things going on. And Titania is a bit of a ridiculous bomb.
Yeah. It does so much. And
I
think it's just way above rate as well. 5 mana. You're getting a lot more than 5 mana as well.
Even if all you were getting was a creature back, a land back and 1/5/3, it's actually, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Just as much more than
that. It's doing, at that point, a fairly reasonable Broodmate Dragon impression. They don't fly, but they're 5/3s, so ups and downs.
Yeah.
Let's
look
at some sideboards. So, Chris...
Elves fight this match.
Elves we're looking at first.
Yep.
Probably pretty similarly to the way he sideboarded against Dark Bant, or Bant in general.
Okay.
So, Arachnogenesis, Kitchen Finks, March of the Wild Hunt probably coming in. Absolute Law, which we saw in an earlier match against Andrew Reid.
Yep, the Dr. Zeus.
Has potential to be pretty back-breaking, because obviously nearly all of Chris's removal is red. So that's pretty good there. So I'd expect those sort of cards. Fairy Macabre is another one that may well come in, because Lachlan does know the matchup well enough to know that Chris's graveyard's got a bit going on.
Okay.
I mean, it's a sort of sideboard card that can end up not doing anything if Chris just draws the other half of his deck. Like, if he draws as he did in that game, where his graveyard was pretty close to irrelevant. I mean, it made the Tarmogoyf a little bit bigger, but whatever. But if he draws into the Entomb Life from the Loam plan, Fairy Macabre is great.
Yeah. Okay.
So what do we got on Chris's side?
Yeah, let's jump over and have a look.
So Chris is probably going to be going for his mass removal here. So Bonfire of the Damned, Fire Spout, maybe Damnation.
Okay.
Are all very good. Most of Chris's wins are going to come from him. Sorry, most of Lachlan's wins are going to come from him putting a pile of elves into play, or using cards like Master of the Wild Hunt to generate wolves and so on. So those are all pretty good. You might sideboard in Magma Spray depending on how much removal you want.
Okay.
I think it's probably moderately likely because, as we saw in that game, Chris's plan is just to kind of kill everything.
Yep.
So the more 1 mana removal and mass removal he can have, the better.
Yeah. So I guess there's just deal with the board, right?
Yeah.
Lachlan can't win without a board state.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
Anything that deals with
the
is pretty good.
Chokes and Graft Diggers cages and stuff are whatever. Kitchen Finks is okay, but not great. Might get sided in. And And most of the rest of his sideboard is for dealing with, artifacts and graveyards and so on, which Lachlan doesn't care about.
Yeah, so probably just removal.
Removal.
All right. So let's just jump over the players that finish sideboarding. And then dealing out their opening hands. Looks like Chris had a mix of lands and spells. What he's looking for?
Lands and spells is good. Not good enough,
Not
apparently.
good enough.
For both players, not good enough.
Okay. So, mulligans. Worse for elves?
I think it's probably roughly equivalent. I mean, Chris has slightly more card advantage, so he doesn't mind quite as much. But
I guess Chris, his is less of a synergy deck.
His is less of a synergy deck, absolutely. But he does want to draw that sort of critical mass of removal.
Right, and he needs to know what he can afford to use on what as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He needs to know what he can afford to use on what. Yeah. That said, the Fire Spout and Damnation do give him a bit of resiliency and card advantage.
Yep.
So.
Okay. How are they feeling about these 6 landers? So Lachlan will have to play. Ooh.
Lachlan's going down to 5, which is...
This can't be good on the play.
Can't be good for him.
And Chris is capped.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the point where your opponent's going down to 5, any sort of reasonable hand from Jund you're probably going to keep. Because as we said, he does need that critical mass of just ways to deal with Lachlan's early threats.
But Lachlan he needs to have his ramp spells and his opener, right?
Yeah. Lachlan needs... I mean, what Lachlan probably really wants is... Utopia Sprawl and those sorts of things can be pretty good, unless Chris has got a Wasteland, in which case they're terrible, or Strip Mine.
Yeah. That's one thing Chris's deck is very good at dealing with.
Yep. So we're leading off with some kind of expedition that I can't quite...
Yeah, these expeditions are actually really hard to...
Yeah, some of them
they're
are
beautiful,
quite hard.
but just they're not quite as unique. It's probably the reflection, I'm not sure. Okay.
Yeah, so it was a fetch land of some description.
And
we've got the Absolute Law.
Okay.
So it might have been the Flooded Strand, I think, because it's going off to fetch Savannah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then Chris is now... A bunch of those cards we're talking about being really good for him now don't have any text.
Yeah. Chris still has answers to the Absolute Law.
He does. He's got Reclamation Sage, amongst other cards. So he can definitely deal with it, but I'd certainly, wouldn't be exciting me. Yeah.
I wonder if this is enough to get back from a multi-5.
Could be.
Well, if it means that his mana dogs get to stick for an extra couple of turns, then
yeah, absolutely.
Could be all enough.
And Chris doesn't have the Damnation in hand because we just saw it in his deck.
Right.
And he's going to fetch Overgrown Tomb, also an expedition.
You can... Okay, you recognise that one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I think didn't manage to open too many of those myself.
Yeah.
Indica.
Well, I know it's a dual land, and it's not Stomping Ground, and it's not Blood Crypt.
Okay.
So
probably the Overgrown Tomb. Yeah.
Pretty sure it's Overgrown Tomb.
It's a Grove.
Yeah, Grove of the Burn Willows, which is not the most exciting thing in the world. And Chris has just gone, well, nuts to you, I'm on the loan plan.
Okay. All right, is that going to be as powerful here as it was against Blue Moon?
Potentially. So we can see Chris has got a Demonic Tutor in his hand. So he can potentially just fetch up the Strip Mine next turn and start going to town.
Okay. Yeah, okay. And yeah, Lachlan he doesn't have his mana creatures, which means the Strip Mines are going to be pretty brutal.
Yeah.
If Chris decides to go that route.
He's also got
Liliana,
who is a pretty good card. So comes into play, eats that Eternal Witness, which got back a fetch land for Lachlan. And he can start controlling the player's hands. And the ultimate's probably never going to happen. It might. If the ultimate happens, the game's probably already over.
Yeah. That's an interesting card for Chris to have here. Just because Lachlan could just spew his hand out from time to time. But it's looking very good here.
Yeah, it's the sort of card that Chris wants so that once he's started to take control of the game and he's, Damnation or whatever, he can control the board.
Well,
but as you say, Sometimes a pile of creatures are just going to enter play all at once.
Yeah. And he's got no cards left in hand, so the discard's asymmetrical at this point.
Yes. Yes.
Right, so he's on the lone plan now.
He's on the lone plan for sure. And he's hit Punishing Fire, which is pretty good, other than the fact that Absolute Law's in play.
Well, it's almost like Lachlan knew what he was doing with his sideboard.
Almost.
Okay.
So, I don't know if Chris is going to cast the Life from the Loam here, because it's only getting back one land. Oh, no, man. I mean, as I said, Demonic Tutor's got to be tempting here.
I think he's got 2 there. I think there might be a Raging Ravine.
Is there? Oh, in fact, there's 3.
3, okay.
The joys of glare.
Okay. Okay. Just building his mana.
Yeah, he's building his mana, and he's now also in a position where he can cast the Demonic Tutor, and he does have the opportunity to get Damnation if he wants it, or something like Reclamation Sage if the Absolute Law is crimping his style. Those 2 lands down the bottom, for anyone who's watching who's not sure what's going on.
I think they're in his hand.
They're in his hand.
Yep.
It's just Lachlan and Chris are good friends, so,
I think Chris is just...
he's just making life easier.
Yeah, so Lachlan doesn't have to write these things down.
Yep.
It's a very generous thing for a player to do. He's got that Fatal Push.
That Fatal Push is pretty good here.
Gets around Absolute Law.
Does get around Absolute Law. He's also got, I think, a Tamagotchi in his hand, which blocks like a champion.
Yeah. So he gets to tick up. Discards the Raging Ravine.
Yep.
I think he's got plenty of things to do with his mana.
He does.
For the time being. Ooh, are we going to see a push? And probably the Fauna Shaman? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure what Lachlan would be fetching with it, but, it's probably going to be good.
Yep.
Mox, not so good there.
Yeah.
So Moxes are 2 points in Highlander, because if you get them early, they're very good.
Yeah, and wow, he got to actually activate his Gaming Township.
Oh, well, there you go.
So
Mox,
one
not so
creature
bad.
even gets to go. Yeah. One creature goes at Chris, the other one at Lily.
Yeah.
And, well, once in a while, I guess your mana dogs just get to attack.
Yeah. Yeah, so Moxes were 3 points in Highlander for a long time.
Okay.
But because a variety of reasons, but partially because they're not very good when you draw them mid to late game, they're now 2, which has been an interesting experiment.
Okay. How are you guys feeling in the committee about that?
Look, we haven't changed them back yet, so it must be okay.
Okay.
But by and large, they do potentially put a bit of a price barrier on the format.
Okay.
But in terms of power level, 2 points is probably about right for them.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't look like anyone's done anything particularly broken with them at this tournament.
Anyway. No. I mean, look, Lachlan is playing 2 of them. There were quite a few Moxes in the room at the event.
Looks like Strip Mine.
Yep. So now...
Oh, this could be trouble.
Now Chris is going for that Strip Lock.
And he took out the Township. Makes sense.
Yep, took out the Township. It's killing one of the mana creatures of Mr. Wardsmith's choice.
Yeah, and just 2 kind of pretty impactful 1-for-1s there.
Yeah, yep. So now Chris gets to cast Strip Mine every turn for the rest of the game if he wants to, or play Strip Mine every turn for the rest of the game. And he's getting beaten down by a 2-2, but I don't think he cares.
Yeah.
Because as I said before, I think he's got a Tamagotchi or similar in his hand.
Yep.
So pretty soon he's just going to make that 2-2 irrelevant and take out all of the lands on the other side of the board.
Yep, and there's the Strip Mine again. And Lachlan's just laying out his land, saying, which one do you want?
Yep.
Yep.
So we're taking out the Bayou, which makes sense. This is the only black source. And that Tamagotchi we were talking about before.
Yeah, and now he can just start beating.
Well, yeah, he can start beating if he wants to, or he can just whittle away Lachlan's ability to do anything for the rest of the game. Because he's in no danger at the moment.
Yep. There's the loan.
And he's got the Baron Moor, so they can start drawing cards as well as getting back life from the loan.
Yep.
Once he is done with all his fun of strip mining.
Yeah, and this is the thing, I guess. Like the Jund decks, just in general, tend to have really good top decks, whereas Lachlan's really depend on him having other things on the board.
Yeah.
And he just used the Ancient Grudge to get.
Right. Yes.
Well.
Yep.
So he took out 2 mana sources in that one turn.
Yep. So Lachlan's still got, I think, 4 mana because he's got the bird and some kind of mana elf.
Yep.
And 2 lands.
Mm-hmm.
But that's going to diminish rapidly.
Yeah. He needs to really find something off the top right now.
Yep.
This is, I think, the spot Chris's deck is built to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we've got now that's I think a Fintorn elf possibly, and Chris can't kill them at the moment, but he's going to be able to eventually. He's eventually going to break through that absolute law, or he might just not care.
Yeah. Well, he's just got the biggest creature on the board right now, right? And,
that's right. Yeah. So Chris has got a some approximation of a 2-turn clock here, 2 or 3 turn clock. Yeah, he just gets to
just sit back
and
just know that all of his top decks are better than Lachlan's at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh, Collective Brutality. Okay, so he did
Collective Brutality, pretty brutal here. I think Collective Brutality was main, but I could be wrong. Anyway, okay. So he gets to kill a creature.
And I think he just had a bunch of cards in his hand he can discard thanks to Life from the Loan.
Yeah, doesn't need to duress because we know what all of the no cards in Lachlan's hand do.
But he does get to drain for 2.
He gets to drain for 2, and I think he's going to attack with his Tarmogoyf. The lifesteals have already changed, so I'm guessing 6.
Yeah.
Or possibly... Yeah, because Lachlan doesn't really want to chump here because, again, he's going to lose his Savannah. And yeah,
he just had a quick look at the top and
he has said, "Yeah,
I was right. There is no 3 mana spell that gets me." Wow! And
with that, I think that makes Chris our champion.
Yeah. So the 2017 National Highlander champion,
Chris Addie.
Chris Addie. So all Canberra final, and gives Canberra another winner.
It does. So he gets to have his name carved on the trophy. Gets to have Mock Sapphire, which I guess is pretty nice.
But Lachlan, obviously not walking away empty-handed, gets that Time Vault.
Time Vault, also pretty nice. So that's the end of the National Highlander Championships for 2017.
Yeah, and lots of thanks to Glenn Doyle from the Games Capital, who's also a member of the Points Committee.
Yeah, absolutely.
For getting this all together at CanCon.
Yep.
Yeah. And,
so it was actually it was a really good event. We had 70-ish players, I think. Lots of people who'd played it a lot, lots of people who hadn't played it much before. We had players from Melbourne and Sydney. I think we had some people from Wollongong.
It was a good turnout.
It was a very good turnout. Everyone got to get one of these lovely Blood Moon playmats that you can see that Lachlan's side has.
Yep.
With original art by Franz... I can't remember. Damn.
the Blood Moon artist.
Yeah. The artist who originally did Blood Moon. Everyone from the committee was there, so we got to have a good chat about the format and how things are going, which is pretty well. The other members of the committee, for those who don't know, are Isaac Egan and Luke Mulcahy. You saw me playing Luke in the first round, if you've watched all of these. So thanks, everyone, for coming along. We'll hope to do some coverage of some more of these in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
And enjoy. I hope you enjoyed watching.
Yeah. So, from me, Kanishka Karunaratne from Paragon Games, and Andrew Vance from the Highlander Points Committee, we are signing off. Thanks for watching.